afternoon to everyone. My name is Kriti Shroff, and I'm a leading career counselor, and I co-founded the organization Careers with Kriti back in 2015. Today, here we are with our special webinar called Career Discovery, where we will be inviting 10 different industry professionals, and each of our following videos will be talking about one industry and one career with a leading professional from that space. So we bring to you more knowledge and more content with the help of industry. Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all the students, parents, and educators who joined us today on a Sunday afternoon. My name is Kriti Shroff, and I'm the founder of Careers with Kriti. We started this organization with the sole aim of mentoring and guiding students across career landscapes. And we brought forward career discovery last year in 2021 in the middle of the lockdown, just to bring more industry knowledge to students and parents and make them understand what different careers are. So Career Discovery 2.0 is the second edition of Career Discovery, where we are bringing in yet another 10 different industry professionals to you to discuss and share information on what those careers are, what kind of skills are required, and how to make great in those careers. So yesterday we saw a list of 5 different panelists talk about 5 very different careers, and today we have another set of 5 industry leaders who are making it big in their own industry, and they're here to share their information with you. So today it's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Varsha Shetty, who's here with us to talk about event management. Event management is one of the very coveted career these days. A lot of students have been talking to us about event management, and especially the ones who think that they are good with organizing stuff. So it was, and last year when we did career discovery, a lot of students asked us to bring event management professional and discuss the same. So a very warm welcome, Varsha, and I'm so
Thank you.
thankful to you to accept this offer from our side to be here and discuss your insights with the students. So for all the participants, Varsha has a large experience of working in the event and hospitality space. She started her career journey with working with hotels and banquets, organizing events with them. And 4 years back, she started her journey as a founder of Petite Project, which is a curated wedding management organization. And she will be discussing more about what this whole space is with our students. So, Varsha, my first question to you is that many students feel excited about this career of event management, and especially the ones who like to organize events in schools, and it gives them the confidence that they can excel in field. So, how will you describe this career?
So, being in this career for the past 12 years and a little more than that myself, I would say events is a very versatile place to be in because it gives you various horizons. It opens various horizons for you in terms of doing events with corporate companies, weddings, which in itself is a very big market now, with subdivisions like design and basically design, interiors, floral styling. When it comes to corporate events, it is more about putting together a production set. How will the stage look, how will the screen look, how will everything look. It's more about that. It's such a vast space to be in right now. And of course, exhibitions also plays one of the biggest roles, which also comes under event management, in terms of there could be lifestyle exhibitions, there could be exhibitions which are related to commercial affairs. So in itself, event management is a very broad horizon, and you could always choose to do everything, or of course choose one stream, let's say just weddings, and focus on that as a career perspective, or just corporate events and do so much more there. So it gives you a broader picture of what you could look at in terms of not only events but also exhibitions, weddings, which is a very big market right now.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's a very broad space if we include corporate events, exhibitions, personal events. It's a huge space to be in. So I would like to understand from you that considering that we're right now talking to most of the high school students who would be largely between class 10 to 12, what are the kind of skills that you think are required to excel in this career?
So in terms of skills, of course, the biggest thing here is communication. I think that is one thing you really need to be good at, because you're literally, when you're doing a wedding or when you're doing an event, you're literally selling your vision to the client. It's very important that you communicate what you have in mind. What are you going to create for them? Everything about that in terms of your first dialogue. Of course, the 3D sketching and illustrations and the whole sketch comes much later. It is first that you communicate your idea and you sell that to the client. I think communication really plays a very, very big role in selling yourself as an events person or selling your company to the client. The second thing is, of course, multitasking. Event management in itself is more like a well-oiled machine. Every part of the machine needs to work properly in order to put the machine into operation. You coordinate with so many departments. So, for example, if you're doing a wedding, you need to ensure that the hospitality is at its peak, the check-ins are happening properly. You have to ensure the decor is coming into place. There are like sometimes you deal with more than 100 vendors. Similarly, for corporate events as well, there are so many aspects that bring an event together to make you succeed in a particular event, right? And hence multitasking at various levels also becomes very important, because you're coordinating with people, you're talking to so many of them to put this event together, and in terms of a wedding, a big day for somebody together. So that is one thing, of course, which is very, very important. The third thing is you need to be on your feet all the time. There are setups that happen in the night for an event that starts in the morning. You will get calls at 2 o'clock, you will get calls at 3 o'clock, you will get calls at 5 o'clock. Sometimes you will be on site making sure the material has reached, things are running in action. So I think that also is a very, very important thing, availability, and you need to just be on your feet all the time. So I would say these three are the most important things. And of course, skill, knowledge, and everything. Always, that is something that you can always brush on. You learn on site. There's nothing that you can learn in terms of how much will you learn on site. So that is what I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I totally agree that multitasking, time management, being available, the ability to work, I think, for longer hours and at odd hours is something that is going to be an important criteria here. What are
Correct.
the trends that you see, Varsha, in this particular industry or profession? Because again, considering that we are speaking to students who would probably finish their school and then finish graduation and then get into the industry. So we're talking about a horizon of 4 to 5 years in the minimum, by the time they get into the industry. So what kind of trends do you see in this space for anybody who wants to be in a job or can be an entrepreneur like you, to be in this space? And what is this industry looking at absorbing more people? What are the trends for them to be here?
Oh, absolutely. I think the way digitalization is going and the way social media has been become such an important aspect of all our lives. Where if I talk specifically about weddings, the way we would look at weddings, maybe 10 years down the line, is so much different. Pehle aisa tha, you just put अच्छे फूल और मंडप बना दिया, that was a wedding. But now couples them, so the parents used to plan weddings. I think now we've seen a shift in trend where we see couples browsing through Pinterest all day, having Pinterest boards telling us what they want, how they want to really approach a sustainable way in order to put their wedding together. I think there is so much more has happened because of digitalization, and hence, of course, the requirement and the need for getting people on board. For example, we did a wedding sometime recently where the couple was very, very conscious of sustainability. We actually got somebody on board who helped us ensure we are using the right resources, we are using the right material, we know where the material is coming from, we know where the material is going. how are we going to tackle the food wastage and things like that. Similarly, in terms of design, of course, there has been a different shift completely. Earlier, it used to be one person designing, managing, coordinating. But now we actually, when we recruit people in our companies as wedding designers, we recruit people who are architects, who are interior designers, who have some sound knowledge in what design and what aesthetic is, and we absorb those people as well. So event management right now is not only about doing events as a thing, it has broadened up a bigger picture in terms of how we can recruit. And of course, weddings, though the weddings, the size of the weddings may have decreased, keeping COVID in mind and keeping other things in mind. But of course, like I said, it has to be a well-oiled machine. So I will need a florist, I'll need a floral styling, a person who can do styling for me, a person who can actually textile designers, people who can um, kind of get me designed upholstery, get me printing done. So I think the need of the hour is getting more talent on board, and this industry is never going to dry up. Let's, even if it is corporate events or weddings, I think it's never going to dry up.
Absolutely. I think the trend for big fat Indian weddings is already on the rise. So, and corporate events are definitely something which, like you rightly said, that they're only to increase and not to dry up at all. So,
Absolutely.
uh, Varsha, that brings me to my next question on what are the kind of educational requirements that are there in the industry? Because considering that you said that there's so many different kind of stakeholders or talent resources that work in this industry. So if a student is thinking to get into a space like event management, what are the different possible undergraduate courses or educational things that they should take up, maybe which could empower them and equip them with the right skills?
So I would say, of course, there are a lot of institutes who focus on event management as a platform. A few of them being NIEM, and there are a few other colleges who provide you specific courses in event management. In terms of, there are 1-year diploma courses, there are 3-year degree courses, there are MBAs and things like that, where you have subjects covering an overall aspect of event management in terms of hospitality, in terms of logistics, in terms of accounting, in terms of digitalization. I think there are a lot of these companies. Now, as a student, you can choose whether you want to take up something that is full time and event management course, or you want to take up something that will help you channelize towards a successful transition of an event. For example, you could either become an event manager, get on ground knowledge into production, what are the resources available, what are the vendors available, do internships through your college. That of course remains one very big aspect of hotel management, of event management. However, if there are other ways also to enter the stream, in terms of doing courses on interior design, architecture, on different types of designing, 3D sketching and things like that, because that also has become a very, very big part of event management. To top that up, of course, if you are somebody who is really good at marketing and you want to drive that as a career, that also is associated in a way with events. So I think because it has such a wide horizon, you can of course choose to do different courses and then associate with events as well. So it is completely on a student, what is it that they have in mind, whether they want to take a full-time course, or they want to do something else and do a diploma in event management just to gain knowledge from both aspects. It is completely a personal choice.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, I've had students in the past who've done graphic design, interior designing, and then get into event management. Vis-a-vis, there have been students who've taken up the courses, like you said, that there is NIEM and then there is NISM, the kind of institutes which offer BBA in event management. So,
Correct.
do you have any personal preferences, or you think both are equivalent? I mean, just from the perspective of giving more insight to the students, which kind of programs do you think empower or equip the students better?
So I would personally, if you ask me, I would always suggest doing a full-time course in something else, and then doing a diploma in event management, because there is, of course, in an event management perspective, you would learn much more when you are actually on ground. The kind of knowledge that you will gain, the kind of people that you will meet, I think that is where the actual input is going to be. So of course, I would say you continue your formal education and do this as a part-time course, and of course bring everything together so that you have knowledge on a personal dedicated stream, plus you have an overall sound knowledge as well.
Makes sense. Absolutely. My next question to you, Varsha, is how is the general lifestyle in this career, and how does your typical day look like?
So this is my favorite question because there are pros and cons. Like every industry would have their own pros and cons. I think, of course, events have their own pros and cons. The pros are, of course, there's no end to knowledge. The amount that you will learn, the amount of depth that you can actually go into in the design space, in the production space, is enormous. Of course, the kind of people that you meet, there's glamour, there's a lot of it. Of course, these are all the pros that people really get pulled in because of these things. But of course, then there are cons as well, because you there are, I mean, like people like me, we work on Saturdays and Sundays as well, which is family time. Universally, we are always on job because most of the weddings happen on a Saturday and Sunday. Like people look for weddings in order to look for weekends in order to do weddings, of course. And then of course our setups happen in the night. Family time is very limited. It's not like you are it's a 9 to 6 desk job. You come to shift at 9 in the morning and you come, leave at 6 in the evening. It never works like this. I think it has a consumption of hours, it has a consumption of time. So I think these things become very important, that need to be factored in before you choose this as a career path. Of course, you there's thrill, there's fun, from the whole process of designing to actually see something coming live in front of you. I think that in itself is a journey. It's a feeling, it's a moment of proud. But that comes with a lot of hard work, that comes with midnight toiling on things, reworking on the designs, putting things together, and then eventually seeing it after months and months of planning. And of course, working in the night, working on the weekends and things like that. So I think it's very, very important that you know all the aspects before you take this as a career choice, because family time definitely gets hampered in this whole thing. Yeah, but of course, there's one good thing is that in our country, of course, weddings are a little seasonal. So we all know, traditionally
Seasonalities.
November to March is when you really slog a lot, and then June onwards it's a little chill. But then when you're in corporates, it never works like this, because then corporates will have their events all through the year, and you will keep doing things, and there will be movement happening all through the year. So I think it's very, very important that you understand both sides, weigh them, measure it properly, and then kind of take a sound decision on that. Yeah.
Thanks for that input, Varsha. My last question to you, Varsha, is that what would be your advice to a student who's probably considering to get into this?
So I would say, of course, it is a great career choice to be in, because there are so many things that you can be into. Like Kriti rightly said, you can be a graphic designer and still be a part of the event space. You can be an interior designer. You can be an architect to be in this space. You can be a light engineer, right? You can be actually an engineer, because to put things together, to check the kind of lights that we want, how is that going to work? Of course, you need engineers as well. So it has a very broad perspective in terms of how you can enter this field, right? It is not only through event management, but there are various sectors that you can excel in and be a part of this industry, which is ever evolving, ever growing. I always feel great when I say this, that this industry generates so much employment. When people say people spend on big fat weddings, people spend crores on weddings, but then the amount of uh, employment that this industry generates, like right from your laborers, your florists, your people who fabricate, your carpenters, there's so much employment that you are really generating through this industry. So I think that is really commendable. That's the best feeling, right? When you see a site with 100 people working together to make somebody's big day successful. So I think that's the best feeling ever.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful, and I'm sure this is very rewarding to see how you can bring in so many different elements, so many different teams together, and pull off an event. I'm
Absolutely.
very sure this must be very rewarding. So now I throw open the questions to the audience. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box so that we can ask questions to Varsha before we move on to our next segment. So there's already a question that has come to me. The student is saying that I like to organize events in my school, and I've always been approached by my teachers to organize. Do you think I can make a career in event management?
Absolutely. I think anybody can, with the right kind of experience, I think anybody can make a career in event management. If you think you can burn the midnight oil, if you think you're great at organization, if you think you can multitask, I think this is the place for you. You can definitely do wonders in event management.
I hope that answers your question, Bita. Um, there's another question saying, I want to restart. Earlier, I was a banker and did masters in finance. So can I do it?
Oh, absolutely. I in junior
From where
college.
should I start?
Okay. So I was a science student in junior college, took up hotel management as a degree, and today I'm a wedding planner and an event designer. So I think once you channelize what is it that you want to focus on as a career, absolutely you can start from the scratch. Maybe just to begin with, you can intern with a few event management companies. There are companies that purely do corporate events. There are companies that purely do weddings. There are companies that purely do decor. So I think you can consider restarting by taking an internship during season, and then of course learn from the basics.
I think that's a valuable suggestion, Varsha, that it's important to first start working or interning or being into full-time role with an event management company for at least a year, 2 year, so that you understand how events are organized. You understand, what are the nitty-gritties, how to work with teams, how to pull in more staff and more resources and collaborate. And once you have a grip, you understand your own I think your own strengths as well, because it's important when you're working as a leader that you understand what kind of strength are you bringing on table, and what are your weaknesses which you will need higher talent for. So I think that's a valuable suggestion. There's another question that has come to me saying that I have not organized any events on school. How to make a pitch. There's another question of how to make a pitch, and the first student has said that can I still start even if I'm not organizing any events in the school?
So of course, I had not organized any events in school. I was never a part of any events in school in terms of organizing them. Attending, of course, I would attend all my events from school and college. But of course, I think I have learned if you ask me, I have learned the most from on ground knowledge. I don't have a formal degree in event management, but that does not mean I'm not a successful event manager. I think, like I always say, on site knowledge is the best knowledge. You are actually seeing the text, or you're seeing the material, you're seeing how things are coming up, you're seeing your production, you're seeing your set, you're seeing people coming together to make that happen for you. If I always feel as an event manager, if I am not good at something, like I'm not good at sketching, I'm not good at 3D layouting, but then I have people who can help me do that. I think that is very important. You have to understand what your skill is, and then to brush up that skill, what are the resources that you need? I think that is what you have to put together in order to be a successful event manager. And yeah, and how to make the first pitch, to answer that question, I think have you should have a portfolio of your work. Of course, if you've not done things in the past, for example, when I started wedding designing, I did not have leads at that time, and I had to start from the scratch. I would do smaller things like putting together table setups at home, removing my mom's cutlery and crockery, putting a nice table together, clicking pictures, have a portfolio, do smaller events at home, um, organizing weddings which are affiliated to your family and things like that. That's where I gained my experience from. And once you start showcasing your work, once you have your portfolio together, I think pitching becomes really important, because then you have something tangible to show to your client, for the client to build the trust in you that this person can really deliver the day of my dreams. So I think it's very important to put together content that you can actually present to your clients. That's how you can make the best pitch ever.
Wow. There's this next question on, can be a fashion designer be an event managing person? Can we be a fashion designer and be an event arranging person?
Yes, you can be a fashion designer and an events person, because being a fashion designer, I'm sure you already have an aesthetic sense. You have a lot of knowledge on textile, on fabric, on designing, on sketching. I think, of course, those are the things that are also required. It's just that you will have to then choose your, stream in terms of, if you're in the fashion industry and aesthetic is your superpower, then of course you take up something which involves being aesthetic, like you specifically go for weddings. If you are really good at organizing stuff, then of course you do corporate events. So it completely depends on what you have as your superpower, and then you streamline and go forward in the industry.
Superb. I think that was wonderful an interaction, and a couple of questions came in, Varsha, to understand that that really shows how curious students are about event management and wedding management, and I have no doubts on how this industry is only to increase and only to employ more and more people. So thank you once again, Varsha, for sparing your time and joining us on a Sunday afternoon and sharing your insights with students. I'm sure these will go a long way in helping them make their own decisions.
Great. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you,
Bye. All
Varsha.
the best.